Good morning, I'm John, one of the twins. My oldest brother Chuck passes along his regards. He's ill and couldn't be here today. But Dad was one of a kind. He loved his family. He was one of 7 kids. They were a close bunch growing up in Runnymede, New Jersey. While we were growing up in South Bend, Indiana, right here, we enjoyed hearing Dad's stories about his mother, his father. His father was the mayor of Runnymede, New Jersey at one point, actually. His brothers Bob, Jack, and Jay, along with his sisters, Betty, Hazel, and Teresa, and of course all their kids. We love those stories. Dad loved his family, his faith, Notre Dame, history, and of course his collie dogs. His greatest love was my mother, our mother. He loved her more than anything. They were married for 67 years. They met in Omaha while Dad was in the Air Force. That's when they started their journey and their family. First came Chuck, then Bob, then Mary, then me, then Rich. That's debatable. It's debatable who came first. And then Barbara. Dad was always so respectful about Mom. He was a great role model for all of us. Together, Mom and Dad were the best parents, period. Wasn't always easy. They had to deal with their fair share of adversity, but they got through it. With 6 kids, money was tight. We always made do. Dad was proud to plan family vacations at the Jersey Shore, Sister Lakes, or the Omaha, Nebraska area. Dad would always mix in a little history too, with stops at Gettysburg, Valley Forge, or some other cool spots. Later on, we would hear stories that Mom and Dad took out loans to cover those vacation trips, or that Dad would take on an extra summer school teaching course to help pay for our summer vacation or a basketball camp or anything else we were trying to do. Mom would always say, "Charlie, we can't afford that." Dad would say, "It's only money, hon, it's only money." I love that. Dad was the consummate historian. He was a fascinating man. I know I probably didn't appreciate Dad's brilliance as much until I got older. But I have to say, Dad really was the smartest guy in the room. But he never flaunted it. He blended into any environment. He was a great listener, and he could contribute to any conversation. That was our dad. Back in the day, our holiday Trivial Pursuit games would get really interesting. Dad would always let you know out loud what the potential answers could be for every question before he answered the question correctly. Some of us had places to be, if you know what I mean. There was always a history lesson, though, with Dad. He was an amazing storyteller, always teaching. We never stood a chance at that game. I'll tell you one thing, we never had to fact check Dad, that's for sure. Dad was always reading. He loved to read. When you give Dad a book at Christmas or for his birthday, he would let you know the next day, "That was a good book, pal." He would sometimes read it just in one sitting. In fact, when Rich and I would come home from college, Dad would say stuff like, "Not sure why you boys have to go out all the time. Did you ever think about staying home with an ice-cold Pepsi Cola and reading a couple of good books?" He would say, "A couple of good books." And we of course said, "No, we never thought of that." Anyway, Dad was a man of faith. He was a devoted Catholic who was always willing to pitch in. He served in the parish council at St. Patrick's in downtown South Bend. He was a great lector at the masses too. He took pride in presenting the readings with conviction. That was Dad. Dad taught us the value of faith and family at an early age. We would attend Mass as a family and come home and have a big breakfast. It always included a trip to the donut shop too. We'd go pick out some donuts. And then my mom would cut them all in half to make sure there was enough to go around. But our dining room table was used for Sunday breakfast and Sunday dinners. That was family time. Dad loved the holiday family gatherings. He loved all of his children, all of his grandchildren, and all of his nieces and nephews equally, always beaming with pride when learning how everyone was doing at home or in the classroom. Dad loved teaching. He loved doing research. He loved working with his students. He would take calls from students. No matter what time of day sometimes, at least it seemed. He was always so compassionate with the students. He was always patient. I remember my mom would say, "Your father's upstairs grading papers, so please let him be." And of course, as a young twin, the two of us would be really nosy, and we'd peek in and see a stack of blue books on Dad's desk and a red pen in his hand. And he's grading essays, and he's up there for hours. He didn't cut corners. He was a stern but fair educator, as many of my friends who took his courses would tell me. Not all of them, but many of them. As I said, Dad loved his colleagues. Dad taught me that dogs are people too. When Mom would yell at the dog to get off the couch, Dad would say, "Don't hurt the dog's feelings, Mom." I love that. In fact, he loved our dogs so much, when we had a house fire in 1976, the firefighters had to stop Dad from going back into the house to try to save our dog, Prince. Sadly, Prince didn't make it. But thanks to Mom and Dad, we all made it out alive. Simply put, Dad was a man of integrity. I think we all know that. He was loyal, he was kind, empathetic, selfless and compassionate. He supported all of us at school, on the playing fields, in the community, and in our family life. That is Dad's legacy. A life filled with devotion to faith, family, and community. You know, the very last thing he said to me was, "We had a good run, pal." No, Dad, you had the best run of all. Thanks for everything. Love you.